Hey, how's it going out there, everyone? This is W.F.S, your doctor, and today we're going to talk about Amazon listening to the Lord of the Ring fans. Yeah, right. Feedback for the Rings of Power. According to the Amazon executive, fan studies were conducted after each new episode of Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, to gather feedback. Well, before we get into this, if you could click the like and subscribe button, be greatly appreciated. And as usual, for all of you who have subscribed, thank you so much. Again, greatly appreciated. Well, according to this, they've had studies done after every episode. Very interesting when you consider that the showrunners just recently told everybody that, we heard from the fans, but for the bulk of the scripts for season 2 were already done, so there's not much more changing we can do to it, but we'll do our best. So let's just see what their idea of listening to the fans are. Oh, we heard you, but, we're not changing suck. An Amazon studio executive revealed that extensive fan feedback was gathered as each new episode of The Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power was released. Based on the beloved fantasy novels by J.R.R. Tolkien, Prime Video's Rings of Power chronicles the rise of evil during the Second Age of Middle-earth. Although the series takes place thousands of years before the events of Peter Jackson's acclaimed Lord of the Rings trilogy, several characters including Gabriella, Elrond, and... I lost my place here, do make their returns, albeit as much as a younger iteration. For the most part, The Rings of Power was well received by fans and critics, but many viewers did take issue with various aspects of the show. Let's be clear about this right off the bat. It was not well received. Okay, well, to be clear, whenever a brand new show starts with such a fan following from previous creations and previous ideas of the show, adorations or iterations of the show, and then you announce you're making your own version of it, people are going to get to watch it. People want to watch it because they want to know what you're doing with it. That's where the 25 million viewers came from. But in an article that I read from previous videos, in a previous video, I said that for every new episode, 1% of the audience kept falling off until finally, the Nielsen's, 2 weeks after the show did its season finale, the Nielsen's no longer could record the show at all. It dipped completely off. So that's a problem right there, but I'm not going to go into that. If the video is there, if you want to take a look at it, it was very specific and very detailed. Pretty much what I'm saying here is that once the fans dipped off away from the show and no new people were returning to watch it, it's a question of whether or not you're going to get your old viewers back and bring new ones in. But they are still in the middle of making this, and it's about 1.5 years, 2 years away. Let's see if they'll bring people in. As production of The Rings of Power Season 2 continues in the UK's Amazon studio, head of global television Vernon Sanders reveals in a new interview with comicbook.com that the studio conducted a study with thousands of Lord of the Rings fans after each episode was released. As a result, Sanders recognizes that some fans weren't happy with the adaptation, despite the fact that Tolkien estate was closely involved with the creation. Check out the Sanders' full comments below. Okay, well, before I get into the comments here, let's just be very clear about this. When someone is offering you the money that Amazon offered the Tolkien family, do you think maybe that they would say, yeah, go for it, we like what you're going to do with in the story? I don't know. I mean, a lot of hardcore fans who followed the books, the mythology, as well as the animated films and the movies that Peter Jackson made, they made it abundantly clear that Amazon was doing something seriously wrong and they didn't like it. And Amazon's response to it, as well as the cast members and the showrunners' response to it, was to slap them down, label them, profile them, sexist, homophobe, transphobic, whatever your phobias were, they were labeled it. And this is now Amazon trying to say, oh, well, maybe we made a mistake. Let's see if we can correct it. Well, that's all the fans wanted. was you to be legit and honest with the story. That's all it was. But let's listen to this. We set up our own study with thousands of people, among them thousands of the Lord of the Rings of Power fans, to really have a conversation with them as each episode dropped, to just understand how they were reacting. We were doing as much of 360 comprehensive looks to really understand it, and I think we got a lot of those. The Lord of the Rings fans, both fans of the books and fans of the movies. We also know that there were some fans who had issues or didn't feel like this was what they were expecting or done the way they expected. And that naturally, I think, whatever you take of something that is so beloved, you're going to have probably a strange reaction for and have some people who just aren't on board. Having Simon Tolkien and the Tolkien estate helping us, I think gave us some comfort that we were doing the best that we could, and that having their endorsement meant a lot. Well, the endorsement of the Tolkien family definitely does make them feel good and that they were on the right track, but again, just some of the characters in this and some of the politics involved with this show and the way the cast members were treating the fans and, again, attacking the fans when all that they were doing was just showing their concerns for something that they've grown up with and absolutely loved. This is just wrong, and it's going to be a miracle to see if they pull anyone back into the show. Another common complaint regarding the Rings of Power is that it lacks some narrative momentum and urgency, and which is true. Most of this show was incredibly slow. It was almost like they were just walking their way through it with no urgency involved as to the danger that would be coming at them eventually. While later episodes certainly upped the stakes significantly, especially with the eruption of Mount Doom and the reveal of Halbrand has actually been Sauron all along, every episodes do move at more of a leisurely pace, with some events feeling relatively inconsequential. It could be argued that this is in fact in keeping with the Tolkien Lord of the Rings books, which do often move story events along quite slowly, but some fans were eventually hoping for a little more momentum in Prime Video expensive adaptation. Well, we all know the story. It was incredibly dull, dragged on. It almost was like something you could use to put yourself to sleep. And some of the characters were so self-absorbed. And I mean, I've read some information about Galadriel and the story of her life after her brother and husband died. At least the husband wasn't supposed to die, from what I understood. But she went off and told, I forgot who it was, that her husband had died at that battle over 1,000 years ago with her brother. But for her character to just be so self-absorbed and just obnoxiously mean to everybody, she was just a nasty character. And from what I understand, Galadriel really wasn't supposed to be that way, but again, in reading the stuff that I've read, it's a progression. She went from being happy and joyful to when her brother died in the war, to her self-absorbed, painful rage, until the woman she became in Peter Jackson's stories. And then there's just all these other characters, but it was just so dull and more feminine orientated than it was to just a balanced story. Okay, my friends, I've ranted, I've raved, and I've told you as much about this article as I can, but what do you think? Do you think that they're going to even listen to the fans like they claim they are? Can Season 2 address the complaints that the fans have about this show? And more to the point, will it? And will it give us the story that we all want and not the story that was just shoved down our throats? Well, comment below, my friends. I really want to hear from you. I'm W.F.S, your doctor. Until next time, my friends, God bless, and have a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas.